Welcome to episode 2 of the Thinkings podcast, where we are going to be talking about memory. And first of all, we're going to be remembering the first episode. So we're reflecting.
So, one of the things I want to clarify about the first episode is the fact that I stated what the overall core theme of this episode was. And I just wanted to clarify that this episode is not really about teaching people things. It's mostly about speaking about our personal experiences and just talking about thoughts related to different topics, really.
Yeah. We want this podcast to be something about our own learning experiences, sharing our own learning experiences, and then also letting people learn along with us.
Yes, pretty much. So let's get into this episode. I'm very excited about this episode.
First of all, let's just straight up just put it this way. There are 2 different types of memory we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about like past experiences, the emotional side of memory, and memories, core memories, and then also the cognitive aspect of memory, or like the ability to remember things.
Yes. So we can start out with
we'll go into like our childhood experiences.
Our childhood experiences, yes. So we will be just mentioning a few of our favorite childhood memories, really maybe the good childhood memories and also the bad ones. So I could start out, I guess.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start with the bad ones first. So I want to save the best ones for, last.
Okay.
So a bad childhood memory I have is probably that one time when I was trying to, I was in Cuba, and I think this was back at the house that I used to live, and I was just trying to have fun and stuff, and I fell and I hit my head twice. I literally fell, I hit this pole, and I hit my face either on the floor or something happened. I don't remember, but I hit my head twice and I was crying. And that was probably one of the worst experiences I had. And then a good experience I had, a good memory I should say that I had was probably when there was that one time where my whole entire family got together in Haiti. And we celebrated, I think it was my aunt's birthday, and we had a very good time. That was probably one of my favorite ones because it was a point where the family, the whole entire family got together, and that just only happened once, which was pretty cool. So
I think some of my favorite childhood memories are definitely from before I even had siblings.
Yeah.
I remember, or even when my siblings were babies,
yeah,
and I was just by myself at home in kindergarten years. I remember being in my basement, and it was all metal and all concrete. It was an unfinished basement. It was so funny, and it was a place for me to just let my imagination run wild. And it's really funny because it's the basement does not look good or anything like that, but I was lost in my own world, so much so that I would just sing and play on my toy guitar when I was younger. I do not have that toy guitar anymore, but that's what I did when I was younger. And then also lots of memories about holidays. I love Halloween, Christmas, all those sorts of holidays. And also on Halloween, I dressed up as some of my most favorite things, which is superheroes.
Yep.
Superheroes have a super influence on me. And I was Flash one year, I was Wolverine another year, I was Batman. I was Batman actually maybe 3 times.
Yeah, isn't that your favorite? That's your favorite superhero?
No, my favorite superhero is Superman.
Superman? Oh yeah.
Batman is just the coolest to dress as.
Yeah, oh okay.
And then that's some of my good memories from when I was a child.
What about any bad memories?
Bad memories, that's kind of funny because as a child, a lot of the things that you play with are things that you are very attached to. And so when my parents donated my toys Oh my god, I was devastated because I was like, those toys were a part of me and a part of my imagination. And I went to go hide, and I did not come out for maybe like an hour.
Man.
I can't hide there anymore. I'm not small enough.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's a very interesting. Like all these memories are very important. I think they like shape us and who we are.
Memory and our memories, especially childhood memories, create who we are, our personality, and also how we approach certain things and how we feel about certain topics or things that happen to us in the future. And I definitely remember one of the memories I had when I was younger was when I wanted this caveman toy. And I don't know why this memory is such a prominent memory, but when I was younger, I wanted this caveman toy, and my dad told me that if I finished this book, this is like before I went to kindergarten, by the way. So I actually finished reading this book by myself without help. And he took me to the store, and at that point I was actually questioning whether or not I wanted that toy, because I was wondering whether or not I would actually play with it for that long. And I ended up not getting it because that toy was about like $100, and I was like, this is not going to be worth my dad's money if I'm only going to be playing with it for, let's say, like 3 days.
Yeah.
So I bought like a Hot Wheels car instead. And so that memory to me is one of my core memories, and is one of the ones that make up who I am now.
Yeah. I would say for me, I mean, one of the things that really was very important thing in my childhood was playing with Legos, because Legos literally shaped my interest in engineering and just making things. Like when I was in Cuba, that would be one of the things that I would do a lot during the weekends. So during the week, I would try to get all my homework done, right? And then during the weekends, I would play Legos and I would watch movies. Sometimes I would multitask Legos and movie at the same time. And in rare occasions, I would eat at the same time. So I would be doing Legos, watching movies, and just like eating at the same time.
If only we did homework like that.
Yeah, like that. But well, that was back in like middle school, and that was a whole lot easier. But creating things was like a very, very cool thing. And whenever I saw Legos, it was like crazy for me, because I was like obsessed. Like I was like, up till now, I still like them, but since I'm doing all these other things, it's like not as important, and it's not as such a like core interest of mine as it used to be before, you know, when I was younger. And Legos was like a very important thing for me. My grandfather also, he kind of shaped my interest in engineering, because he was a mechanic, and he is a very smart man. He likes to make things. He's always making something. Like every time I call him from here, he's always telling me how he's working on a new project, or he's helping my grandma just build something better. So he's sort of a person that inspired me to make things and just to pursue engineering, really. So
yeah, a lot of the influences we had, like family members and everything, and the things that we love, like toys and Legos like that, definitely have shaped us very strongly and influenced very strongly to what we want to do right now. And it's often those memories from when we were kids that actually push us to want to be what we are right now. And not like things that we see today that push us.
It's true.
Like a lot of our motivation comes from our origins and not
our childhood.
Yeah, it comes from our childhood.
Yeah.
And then also Legos and stuff like that. It's not that the Legos are like the super most important thing about that memory. It's that what the Legos stand for and what those memories of those Legos stand for.
Yes.
It's like that when you play with Legos, it's that urge to want to build something and make something new. And one thing as a child, imagination is everywhere and including everything. So much abstract ideas form when you're a child, and that just comes from kind of how flexible the mind of a child is.
Yeah, the world as a child tends to be, I mean, when we see the world, it seems like it's some things are not real, certain things seem just magical, right? Like, I don't know, I remember when I was younger and I used to think about how people went to college. It was weird, or just certain things. Like, I remember, actually, there's something else. I thought that the way that scientists knew that dinosaurs existed was because they set up cameras in like space, and that's how they were able to record dinosaurs. I never knew about the whole scientific method, or I never really thought of, oh wait, they have like fossils and they can predict that stuff. And then later I learned, well, based on certain patterns in modern creatures, scientists are able to maybe determine how these other creatures were able to behave. Which, hey, this is kind of memory in a way, because it's sort of a memory of the present to figure out a memory from the past, which is pretty cool. Memory.
And then a lot of our understanding also comes from weighing or looking and comparing our last memories to our new memories or more relevant memories. And then also when we create memories and everything like that, we create something to recognize. And then if we are people that like to look to the future, we have hope for something like that again if we have good memories.
Yes.
Because someone who's brought up in like a bad environment and everything like that, it's kind of difficult to know what like a good environment feels like, or might be very uncomfortable for that to happen. And so it has a childhood memories, past experiences, even recent past experiences, like just even a year ago. There's
I know
a lot of new college experiences because we were freshmen, and then it just leads to a lot of
new memories too.
New connections,
and also we learn from our memories, our previous experiences, if you want to say so.
And then talking about school again, there are I wish memories worked the way that we could just go walk around and like, make memories by like having fun and going to parties. I wish that applied to like topics in class.
Yes, me too.
And so this is what brings up the next topic in our podcast episode. It's going to be memory methods.
Yes, the methods.
So if you want to know how to memorize things or remember things better, this section is going to be very important because it's going to be an accumulation of knowledge
from our previous experiences.
So I guess I will talk about one of the methods I know first. One of the ones that stood out to me the most by my research was Memory Palace. Basically, Memory Palace is just a way of putting new information that you're trying to learn into a place that's relevant and you already are that you are familiar with. That's what I was trying to say. And by navigating around that room and placing the new information in each thing inside that room, you can think about each corresponding thing to bring out that piece of information, and that's a way to memorize.
That I remember using that method, and it was pretty useful. I mean, I guess it all depends to the complexity of what you're trying to memorize, because like I remember I was trying to memorize my polyatomic ions, and I was trying to do that just by looking at objects around my workshop room, like the room where I have all my things, and I was like, okay, chairs for ammonia, this is for that, this is for that, this is for that. And it just takes time, but it's a very good method because you already know what this place looks like. So it's a good one to use.
The only thing I'll say with Memory Palace is that it is like a super memory technique that is truly like memorization. It's not like super conceptual. And like won't give you a ton of understanding about the subject.
Yeah.
But it does give you a reference that you can look back on that's just inside your mind.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like note-taking, but just inside your brain.
Yeah. There's another one. This one I really like, the mnemonic. Mnemonic, is that how you say it?
Mnemonics.
Yes, mnemonics. That is a very interesting one because that one can save you a lot of time in terms of like memorizing things, because these are these are words.
One thing I like about mnemonics is it can be passed along with people because with memory palace, it's like your own personal room.
Yes, it is.
But no one else is gonna know your room.
No.
So mnemonics is like a really good
general, a very general one. So and that one, I mean, there's like so many of them out there, and I kind of got confused between mnemonics and what was the other one? I forget what it's called, but acronyms. Yeah. Acronyms, I guess they can help you to remember things. Like we can associate certain acronyms to certain things, but mnemonics is a whole lot better because the word makes sense. It's not just some random acronym. Like these are words that we probably know already that we're just using to memorize or to just remember certain things.
Yeah. And then one thing with all of these methods is that a core part of memory is being able to relate different things and being able to group different things. Because when you group something, it's easier to look at. We even grouped the outline of this podcast episode because we wrote a lot of notes.
Yes,
and we were definitely not going to remember talking about every single thing.
Yeah.
But we shortened it down to maybe a couple words and grouped it up, and it makes it much more comprehensible and memorable.
Yeah, that's
memory.
True. Yeah, memory.
And then also grouping in general and relating things very well is what creates a pretty good memory. And for example, like a phone number. Yeah. It's just a string of numbers, but it's much more memorable that we split it up into 3, 3, and 4. Yeah.
I never thought of it like that. I mean, never thought of the fact that it's much more memorable to remember it like that, because I've definitely done that before. Yeah.
Same thing with birthdays.
Yes, birthdays too. Yep. And there was a term that Jake coined. That was, I think, it's a very good term. Yes.
One of the things I want to tell everyone is, I kind of want to rebrand the word memorize. Yeah. Because memorizing things gets a little bit of a bad rap right now, just because straight up memorizing stuff is not entirely conducive to your learning experience. And you don't want to straight up just memorize things, because at a certain level, at a certain point, topics will get hard if you are only just storing the information in your brain. You need to actually know your way around it. And so one of the terms I made up myself is called memoirize. Yes. And that basically just means to create something like a memoir in order to boost your memory, or create things in such a way that it fits kind of like that memoir format. You want to be able to personalize the things that you learn and be able to ask your own questions and get what you want out of it. And not just ask those cliche questions that everyone else tries to ask just because you want to stick to a certain format. You want to make a story, and you want to make your own thing in order to connect it and make it relevant to yourself. Yes. And so that's why I call it memoir, right? Because a memoir is something that's from one's own personal experience.
And this is also something that you're kind of learning in your class too. It relates a little bit to it, right?
So basically I'm making a short story, and it's the main character. This is kind of like the memoir of the main character. And the way I thought about this term, memoirize.
Yeah, memoirize.
It doesn't roll off the tongue, but
no.
It's very important. Stories are one of the most effective ways to memorize things and keep things inside the brain. And that's because of the way that stories progress. If you know the first thing, you know what it leads up to. And then if you know what the lead up is, then you know what it leads to next. And so stories are very powerful in that way. So one way you can memorize a string of information is to create a story with it. And it also gives you a pretty cool way of organizing information in a way that you know what happens before and after.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Which this, besides the using what the stories to memorize things, I mean, there's like other methods like using images to memorize things. I mean, our brains are good at that. Like just when there's a picture of something, we can memorize certain things about it. Like there's certain things that capture our eyes, right? And nothing for memorizing things is just saying things out loud. Like I've done theater before and also speech and debate, and in both of those fields, or both of those activities, I've had to say things out loud just so I can memorize them. Because in theater, where you have to express yourself a certain way, you have to have a specific emotion. This can be related to a certain scene or a certain character that you're trying to portray, right? And so you need to be able to have that emotion come out and know what that emotion is like, or know how to feel like that character. I mean, if I were to memorize the character in my head, I wouldn't really know, because I think with theater and just performing in general, you have to feel certain emotions, because you're trying to portray someone else's life. Like you're being someone else that you're not, right? Or sometimes you can relate to your character to a certain extent, but even that, when people are feeling certain things, they don't just always keep it in their heads. And even if they do, their own bodies is going to react a certain way. Like it eventually is going to come out in like words or sound or any physical way. I guess you could break down into tears. You could hurt yourself. There are people that probably hurt themselves trying to put out a certain emotion or a certain emotion out there in the world, or just expressing it to other people. So that is a very important thing. Using to remember things is just saying them out loud so you can remember them.
And then also, one of the things that people like think about memory is that it's all just mental. A lot of memory is very emotional, and I would say it's actually more mainly emotional than it is logical.
Yeah.
Because just the impact that things have emotionally seem to impact our memory more. And then most of our mental capabilities are mostly just judged literally by the way that our brain is formed and how our brain works. But usually the average person, and even people outside, like outliers within that range of people don't really have much fluctuation in whether or and how smart or different levels of intelligence they have. And so a lot of the time it's not your cognitive ability, it's more about the processes you have gone through already and the things that you have done to try and improve your processes that make you smarter. And then emotions also help drive us to make better memories.
Yes, it's true. I mean, going back to the issue of, going back about certain people being smart or something driven by emotions. I mean, emotions, if we associate them with cognitive abilities, or let's say just knowing certain things. I mean, if let's say that you're super duper interested in something, I mean, you have the will to do it. Like this emotional drive is what is pushing you to learn this thing or to just love something that you want to do. And I guess that's a way that certain people can be better than others at certain things because they have this emotion that goes with it that allows them to complete certain tasks related to what they want to learn, or just, spend hours or time and just any time that they can so they can learn this and master it too. And so emotions can place a very important role in memory, just like Jake said, and also the drive to maybe create new memories, right? Because it's very important.
And then going back to a couple of the methods, don't get too caught up in trying to find a bunch of ways to memorize things, because a lot of the time, each method doesn't actually completely work for each person.
Yeah.
That's why I say you gotta personalize a lot of stuff and memorize.
Yeah, memorize.
And then I'll say a couple of things about the methods and why some of them might falter in certain situations. So like visualization, solely just visualizing stuff or solely looking at pictures in order to learn things is not that good of a way by itself to learn, just because imagine you're looking at a graph with no title.
Yeah.
And no like axes. How are you supposed to know what it's talking about or understanding the underlying concepts that it's trying to get out?
Yeah.
Because the thing that you are trying to get out of something is the concepts and not the content. You don't want to just soak in the content. You want to know the context behind it. You want to know the concepts so that you are able to play on it by yourself.
Yeah, you want to know what you're looking at, pretty much.
And it's the same thing with a book. Imagine a book cover with no title.
Yeah.
Or imagine a book cover with no title and no summary on the back page. The only way that you're going to be able to know what that is by reading the words.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll say is images, words mixed together are very powerful. And so you need to, or we need to definitely mix different kinds of learning together in order for the most optimal and most beneficial way to remember things.
Yeah, that is something I've tried using in my chemistry class, because that class, there's a lot of concepts that are new to me. Also, because again, just as I mentioned in the first episode, there's a language barrier between some of the things that I learn. So I have to take a minute, write down some of these words, look up the definition, how they translate to maybe Spanish or French. I guess mainly Spanish because that's my mother tongue. And I have to also just know what the definition of this specific word is. If I look at the word just on its own, I won't really know what I'm really looking at. If I look at any chemistry diagram, I won't really know how to interpret what is really saying, or really I can't decipher the meaning of it, because I have to know all the different parts that make this graph or this image. So just to reinforce what Jake said, images plus words, that's probably one of the best ways to go to learn things. I mean, in books, that's how you have things. You don't just have words. I mean, sometimes you have words, but sometimes you have to have a very good imagination to picture what this text is getting, because sometimes you don't know what. But I think with technical books or technical writing, it's very important. I mean, I guess this is why they have images together with whatever they're trying to say, because they want people to visualize or to really understand what these words are saying. Because technical writing can be very complicated, and not everyone knows what it really means. It could mean different things, or I don't know, it could be something completely different than what you thought.
Yeah, it's very difficult, because some terms could mean something, and then the same word in a different context might mean something completely different.
Exactly. And I mean, especially math, you have to, one equation can be solved in different ways depending on what we're trying to find from it.
Yeah.
Which makes me think of another thing that I remember this, and that is So I learned from a book called How to Solve It by George Polya. And I'm not done reading the book, but so far this is what I understand when trying to solve math, right? So if you're trying to solve a math problem, and let's say that you tried one thing and that doesn't work, and let's say you try another thing and that doesn't work. You're trying all these different methods or all these different approaches. But let's say that there's that one approach that works, right? What I can understand from what the author is saying is that every single memory you have of solving that one problem, it's good for you to use it so it can help you solve another problem. Because maybe that mistake that you made solving the problem the first time can help you solve another problem in a different time. And this can relate to other things in life, because at times we might not do a thing that is probably relevant now, but it will probably be useful for us later, right? It's like you're trying to prepare for the future by having all these, different things. If you had a bad experience with something, it sure was bad. Maybe it wasn't relevant to what happened to you or what is happening, but you know that you have that memory now, so you could probably use it later. So don't forget things. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, don't forget things.
Don't forget things. Yeah.
A lot of the time when you make mistakes too, you don't want to forget your mistakes, because it might come back to haunt you.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Throughout history, actually.
Yes, throughout history, those who forget the past, right, are gonna make the same mistakes in the future. You go something like that. It's a quote. I forgot who said it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, those who are doomed to repeat the past are doomed in the future, something like that. But yes, and a thing that is very important with memory is to reflect upon what you've done. So that is a thing that can allow you to remember things, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's not only going back to remembering what you said, but also just, I guess, being consistent with what you're trying to do. Consistency.
Yeah, consistency. Yeah. One of the funny things is not just cognitive memory or emotional memory. Mm-hmm. Your body, your physical memory is muscle based memory. Your muscle memory is based off of your consistency and your habits. Mm-hmm. So that's just another example of you need to actually work hard and work consistent in order to get the results that you want. Yeah. Because working out, the fruits of working out are the same thing as the fruits of learning. You got to do it consistently, and you got to do it deliberately. You have to set focus. Mm-hmm.
Just to let you guys know, I struggle a lot with being focused and being consistent with my work, because there's like so much to do, and this maybe doesn't fully relate completely, but it's a good thing to start well when you're doing something, when you're approaching a certain thing, because it can affect you eventually in your process of trying to learn things and trying to establish all those memories. Because sometimes if you're learning something, the memories can get mixed up with what you have to do and what you're trying to do, right? If, let's say, I'm not doing good in a class, right? And I have to, which I'm not, by the way, and I have to be consistent with what the class is doing, and then I'm trying to catch up with something else. It will mix up my memory and just knowing different things, and that can be bad for just remembering things. So I think that's very important, pacing yourself.
Yeah, and also pacing yourself is extremely important, just because you don't want to get overwhelmed and overstressed. Yeah, because stress is good at some times, because stress can actually put you in focus. But then stress, if you have too much stress, it's going to put you under so much pressure that you're not even going to be able to think that well. Yeah. And another part of memory, if you are having trouble remembering things, not remembering things. Yeah. If you're having trouble remembering things, one of the tips that I will say is you need to have a good life balance. You need to have You have to be eating good. You have to be sleeping good. And just having those like good lifestyle habits is very good for just your brain function. And if you don't have those things, especially sleep, if you don't have sleep, it's very, very hard to focus. And if you're like the average person, like everyone is, without sleep, you probably will not remember some of the high level concepts that you're learning.
Yeah, that's really
if you're in school. And then if you're just out in the world and trying to learn stuff in a job, it's still gonna hinder that ability to learn. So take a look at your habits and see if you're sleeping enough, if you're eating enough, if you're sleeping consistently. Because I'll tell you something, if you nap during the day, like take short naps across the whole day, that's kind of not that good. You kind of need that long sleep at night.
Yeah.
Instead of short bursts.
Yeah. So like you can take naps and stuff, but the where it's really going to help you is if you take the long naps, because people take like 10-minute naps, right? That's all right. You can take a couple of them.
Yeah.
But you can't it's not gonna be good if you do that every time. If like that's the source that you get from like sleep, yeah, that's gonna affect you.
The third and final thing, as to conclude memory, is you gotta look back on your memory and actually use it.
Yes.
You gotta reflect on your memory, on the things that you have memorized and the things that you haven't, because you need to be able to think about your processes again, being able to self-regulate. You don't want to be stationary. You don't want to stay still in your progress. You want to be able to change when you can and adjust.
Being consistent, yeah.
Reflecting on what you did, even just quickly, like you could just think about it really quickly before you go to sleep. You think about your day, you think about what you did. Just doing that already puts you ahead. And then also reflecting and all that stuff, all that jazz, in addition to imagination.
Yes.
Use your imagination. Again, imagination is so important because you want to be able to take the memories you have and turn it into something new. And not just have it stationary and have it non-changing. You want it to be able to move around. You want to be able to look at something and be like, oh, I can see it from this perspective. And that's what is really good for our minds.
I remember yesterday I was doing so much chemistry. Like I was doing this one, I was very focused, just working at it, right? And I just started thinking about it and trying to see, ammonia. I know what that is, you know? Like I'm trying to picture all these ideas for like chemistry. And that's like pretty cool, a pretty cool thing. I'm excited when going through in engineering school and just learning things, is that the more you learn, and this is something I like to say, the more I learn, the more I can make, because I know things, and just like Jake said, I can use my imagination to make things. And imagination, I think that's probably one of my favorite parts of the human mind, because through imagination, we can make all of these crazy things that people maybe 100 years ago never thought were going to be possible. Like imagine trying to explain this caveman that were filming something in a tiny box that is made of like, is sending bits of information. He probably wouldn't understand what bits are, or maybe what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
But through imagination, and again, it's through the memory process of just doing things and remembering things, and just through the generation of scientists and engineers that have come before us, that have made it possible for us to make things like this today, like make cameras or make phones or light bulbs. Thank you, Thomas Edison. But, you know, and maybe Nikola Tesla. But anyways, that is the really, you know. And before we maybe conclude this episode, we really want to reflect upon our first episode and maybe talk about the progress we've made.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, we got some plans for the future.
Some plans for the future.
Not just some memories.
No.
We're using our imagination and we're using action.
Yes, we're taking action.
So we're probably, not probably. We are going to
Yes.
meet with our school's radio, so UWM Prowl Radio.
Yes.
And we're going to see if we could get onto Prowl Radio, and that's going to be really awesome. If we
Yep.
could be on there. And if this episode is on there right now,
Uh-huh.
thank you, Prowl Radio.
Yes, yes. And we want to thank the people that are watching our videos, that are supporting our channel. This means a lot for us because this will really make us work and release more content if we see that people really like this. And another thing, as you guys can see from our last episode, we've made a lot of progress in terms of the light. This is a canvas I made. For those who are listening, hopefully you guys watched the video on YouTube, but our setup is different than last time.
Our lighting is good.
Our lighting is good. We have water in front of us, and it's very good because we're talking a lot. And the camera is very good. Still, we need to figure out better things.
Yeah, there's still a couple of things like the microphones.
The microphones,
we tape them to.
Yes. Oh
to
my
our
gosh.
cards.
Yeah. So we need to find better ideas, better ways. We need to think and use our memory to find new, I guess, solutions to this, to all these little problems we have.
Yeah, and we definitely have a lot of future plans. So
yes. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned
for future episodes.
The next episode is gonna be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say this: rush hour.
Rush hour, you guys. Stay tuned. We'll have fun with this one. You'll see probably very interesting things. This will be a pretty cool one. Just have to brainstorm it a little bit better. The approach.
Yeah, and then I'll just summarize some of the things that we talked about today.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about past life experiences, the good memories, the bad memories.
Mm-hmm. Methods for memorizing.
Yep, methods for memorizing, memory palace, mnemonics.
Yep.
Visualization.
Action, movements, expressions that can help you memorize things.
Saying things out loud.
Yep.
And then also we talked about reflection, creating, and then also
using your any experience or any idea that you've had or any memory that is either relevant to something, good or bad. You could use it probably later. Store it in your brain.
And then also keep good habits, lifestyle habits.
Yeah, that's very important for memory. So we can definitely relate to some of our audience out there because we're college students and sometimes we don't make very good decisions.
Yeah, especially because I feel lazy.
Yes, or I have problem remembering things or trying to, do the methods for remembering things, which is very important.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you're still going through it, right?
Yeah, I'm still going through it. It's hard work, But all I would say is that I will always be thinking about everything that we've done so far.
We will be pushing and persevering.
Yes.
It's one thing that Rogelio is good at.
Yes, I cannot give up.
He's still good, sticking through it.
Yep.
And we will not give up.
We will not give up.
No matter what.
Yes, that's a very important thing in life.
All right.
So,
all right.
This concludes.
Support us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Yes.
Our website on Buzzsprout.
Yep.
And that's Thinkings.
Thinkings out.